The whip screamed through the alien air, crackling with lightning. Every noble in the crowd froze, because the man who stepped forward wasn't Luthari, wasn't royal, wasn't even supposed to be alive. He was human, and he chose to take 10 lashes meant for their princess. The arena roared like a living creature, steel ribs shuddering, dust swirling in orange light, the air thick with the scent of metal and burnt ozone. Somewhere above, alien banners rippled, their symbols glowing faint blue against the heat haze. Beneath them stood thousands, Luthari nobles, traders, soldiers, watching as a lone human staggered to his feet in the blood-stained pit. Arlen Cross wiped sweat from his brow with a shaking hand. His back was already raw from the fight he'd just survived, a contest designed to entertain, not to end well for him. The creature he'd slain lay motionless, a sprawl of claws and chrome. The crowd expected a bow, a salute, maybe a scream. He gave them none. He just stared up, unblinking. In the royal balcony, Princess Vera leaned forward. Silver-skinned, violet-eyed, cloaked in white light, she looked like mercy carved out of cold metal. Her gaze met Arlen's for a heartbeat. That single moment, that silent exchange, would change everything. A commotion broke the rhythm. A young Luthari attendant, barely more than a child, had spilled a drink onto Commander Dravak's ceremonial armor. The blue-scaled officer rose slowly, face twisting into something cruel. 10 lashes, he declared, voice amplified by hovering drones. The crowd hushed, sensing blood. The girl trembled. She could barely lift her head. Arlen moved before he thought. A single step forward, then another, his chains rattling. "She's a kid," he rasped. "You want punishment? Take it out on me." The words hung heavy in the silence. Dravak laughed, sharp and humorless. "You'd bleed for an alien?" "Already have," Arlen said. The first lash landed with a crack like thunder. Pain exploded through his spine, electric and pure. He refused to fall. The second struck, then the third, until the 10th burned his breath away. When it ended, Arlen was still standing, barely. The crowd didn't cheer this time. Even the drones hovered silently. He spat blood, met Dravak's eyes and murmured, "You don't hit someone who can't fight back." Then darkness took him. High above, Princess Vera stood perfectly still. In her clenched hand, a fragment of her glass had shattered, but her eyes burned brighter than ever. The next time Arlen opened his eyes, the ceiling wasn't made of rusted steel. It glowed, soft white, humming quietly. The smell of antiseptic replaced blood and sweat. He wasn't in his cell anymore. For a moment he wondered if he'd died. Then pain reminded him otherwise. He tried to sit up, but found himself surrounded by floating medical drones, their thin lights tracing patterns across his scarred back. He muttered, "Guess I'm still property, just upgraded rooms." A quiet voice answered, "Technically, you're under diplomatic custody." He turned. Princess Vera stood by the door, cloaked in shadow, her expression unreadable. In the harsh light, her silver skin looked softer, almost human. "You moved me?" he asked, voice rough. "I saved you," she corrected gently. "Commander Dravak wanted to make an example of you. I wanted to understand you." He laughed, a dry, painful sound. "I'm simple to understand. I saw something wrong. I fixed it. That's not simple here," she said, stepping closer. "On this world, mercy is rebellion." He studied her eyes. "And you? What does that make you?" Vera hesitated, tired of watching cowards call themselves leaders. The silence stretched between them, warm and uneasy. She handed him a small cup of clear liquid. "Drink. It'll help the pain." He sniffed it first. "If I die, I'm haunting you." That earned the faintest smile. "Humans, always joking when you should be afraid." "I tried being afraid," Arlen said, swallowing the bitter medicine. "Didn't like it." A soft chime interrupted them. The wall flashed with a holographic message, an order stamped with Dravak's insignia. "Transfer the human back for public execution. Noon tomorrow." Vera's jaw tightened. She reached to shut the message off, but Arlen had already seen it. "So saving me wasn't exactly legal," he said. "Not even close." He leaned back, pain fading under the slow pulse of the medicine. "You're going to get yourself in trouble." "I already am," she said, almost smiling again. "And so are you." When she left, the door sealed behind her with a hiss. Orlin exhaled, staring at the alien skyline beyond the window, towers of glass rising into mist. He didn't know it yet, but the next time that door opened, it wouldn't be the princess. It would be her brothers. The door hissed open at dawn. Orlin expected the princess. Instead, 3 figures filled the doorway, tall, armored, and definitely not smiling. "Human," the tallest one said, his voice like gravel. "On your feet." Orlin sighed, rolling his sore shoulders. "Morning to you, too." They didn't laugh. The 3 were Vera's brothers, Kale, Theros, and Rin, heirs to the Luthari High Council, warriors born into command. They surrounded him with the silent precision of men who'd trained since childhood. Kyle, the eldest, spoke first. "Our sister says you saved a servant." "We think you embarrassed an empire," Orlin shrugged. "Bit of both, maybe." Rin stepped forward, eyes sharp with curiosity. "You don't fear punishment?" "I already had it," Orlin said. "Didn't enjoy it much." Theros barked a short laugh. Unexpected, rough, but real. Kyle shot him a look, but didn't stop the next words that slipped out. "You have courage, human." "Or no sense," both Orlin replied. "Mostly no sense." The smallest crack of humor shifted the air. They took him to the training courtyard, a ring of glass and sand under an open dome. The brothers didn't explain. They simply attacked. Wooden staves blurred. Orlin barely dodged the first strike, stumbled under the second, then blocked the third out of sheer instinct. He didn't fight like them. He fought dirty, ducking, rolling, swinging the staff like it was a baseball bat. By the end, sweat dripped from every alien brow, and Orlin was still standing. Bruised but grinning, Kyle lowered his weapon. "You're stubborn." "Thank you," Orlin said, wiping blood from his lip. Humans call that a compliment. Something shifted in their eyes. Respect, quiet and unspoken. Later, over a meal that tasted vaguely like seaweed and pepper, they spoke of politics. Commander Dravak was gaining favor, using Orlin's defiance as proof that humans were uncontrollable. Vera's defense of him was already under investigation. Orlin listened in silence. "He won't stop, will he?" Kale's jaw tightened. "Not until someone makes him." That night, a coded message appeared on Orlin's bedside screen. No sender, only 6 words. "Meet me at dawn." "Trust no one." He frowned, replaying the words until fatigue won. By sunrise, he'd wish he hadn't. Morning came wrapped in silence. Too still, too heavy. Orlin woke to the sound of boots, metal on stone. The door slid open, and a dozen guards poured in. Weapons drawn, he didn't resist. He'd learned that lesson early. They bound his wrists with a cold band of energy and marched him through echoing corridors toward the courtyard. The city outside shimmered with pale light, too calm for what was coming. Waiting in the arena was Commander Dravak, his armor polished to a mirror shine, his eyes burning with self-satisfied rage. The crowd was already gathering, nobles whispering like vultures before a feast. Princess Vera stood in the royal balcony, jaw tight. Her brothers flanked her, grim and silent. "Shalin Cross," Dravak announced, voice booming through the speakers, "charged with the murder of Rin Nixian and crimes against the Empire. You will fight for judgment." Orlin blinked. "Rin dead?" The words hit like a blow to the chest. He didn't even have time to mourn. The trial had already begun. 2 blades lay before him. One was polished Luthari steel, the other a staff with strange circuitry along its edge. Vera's eyes met his across the arena. No words, just a tiny nod. The staff, he picked it up. It hummed, faintly alive. Dravak lunged first, his strikes fast, brutal, precise. Orlin parried clumsily, dodging more out of instinct than skill. The staff vibrated with every hit, absorbing some of the force. Pain burned through his ribs, but he refused to give ground. The crowd roared, half in anger, half in awe. Humans always fight hardest when they've already lost. Dravak sneered. "Guess you've never met a real one." Orlin grunted. A spark flashed. The commander's blade glitched mid-swing, flickering red. The crowd gasped. Illegal nanoblade tech, banned under Luthari honor code. Orlin saw the opening. One feint, one sweep, and Dravak crashed to the sand, his weapon shorting out. Orlin's staff hovered above his throat. He could have killed him. He didn't. Not today. Arlen said quietly, lowering the weapon. Vera's voice cut through the silence. Council, record this. The human fought with honor. The commander fought with deceit. Screens lit up around the arena, replaying the evidence in perfect clarity. The verdict was no longer in question. Dravak's empire of lies had just collapsed on live broadcast. The arena was silent. No cheers, no jeers, only the faint hum of broken weapons cooling in the sand. Commander Dravak lay defeated, his armor sparking in tiny bursts of shame. Arlen stood in the center, chest heaving, blood dripping from his knuckles. The staff hung loosely in his hand, still glowing faint blue. Around him, the crowd waited for the kill that never came. Vera stepped forward from the balcony, her voice carrying steady and clear. The council has witnessed. The human fought with honor. The commander fought with deceit. The verdict rippled through the tears. One by one, nobles lowered their gaze. Dravak shouted something, rage, denial, but the guards moved before he finished. His voice vanished under the weight of his own disgrace. Arlen barely noticed. His vision blurred. Exhaustion wrapped him like smoke. The sand beneath his boots felt heavier than armor. He thought of Earth, of dust, sunlight, laughter he hadn't heard in years. Maybe now he'd earned rest. Then movement caught his eye. Kyle and Theros, Vera's surviving brothers, stepped into the pit. Without a word, they sank to one knee. The crowd gasped. The gesture was ancient, a vow of respect reserved for heroes of the Empire. Arlen blinked, unsure. What are you doing? Kyle met his gaze. Honoring what we forgot. That courage doesn't belong to bloodlines, Theros added quietly, and to remind the stars that humanity still stands. Vera descended the stairs, stopping beside them. Her silver eyes softened. You didn't save a servant that day, she said. You saved what was left of our honor. Arlen exhaled, half-smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Remind me not to do it again. For the first time, laughter rippled through the arena, small, uncertain but real. Later, as twilight washed the city in violet light, Arlen stood on a balcony overlooking the horizon. Vera joined him, silent for a while. Where will you go now? She asked. He watched the stars flicker into view. Home, maybe. If I can find it. She glanced at the distant sky. Or build a new one. Somewhere far above, engines ignited, Dravak's loyal fleet escaping into the dark. Arlen's hand tightened on the railing. Looks like peace will have to wait. Vera smiled faintly. Then we fight together, he nodded once. Together. And for the first time, the stars seemed to bow.